Genesis. Chapter 42. Now when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, "Why do you keep looking at one another?" And he said, "I have now heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there, and buy grain for us from there, that we may live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, "Perhaps harm may befall him." And the sons of Israel came to buy grain among those who also came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the governor over the land. It was he who sold grain to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he disguised himself to them and spoke harshly with them. And he said to them, "Where have you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan, to buy grain for food." And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed about them, and he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said to him, "No, my lord, rather your servants have come to buy grain for food. We are all sons of one man. We are honest men, your servants have never been spies." And he said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan, and at this moment the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more." But Joseph said to them, "It is just as I spoke to you, saying, You are spies. By this you shall be tested, as Pharaoh lives, you shall not go away from this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you to get your brother, while you remain bound, that your words may be tested whether there is truth in you. And if not, as Pharaoh lives, surely you are spies." And he put them all together in custody 3 days. And Joseph said to them on the 3rd day, "Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers remain bound in your place of custody, and the rest of you go, carry grain for the famine of your households. And bring your youngest brother to me, that your words may be verified, and you will not die." And they did so. And they said one to another, "We are indeed guilty concerning our brother, because we saw the distress of his soul when he pleaded with us, yet we would not listen, therefore this distress has come to us." And Reuben answered them, saying, "Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the child? But you would not listen. So now also his blood is required." And they did not know that Joseph understood, for there was an interpreter between them. And he turned away from them and wept. Then he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from among them and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and to restore every man's silver pieces into his sack and to give them provisions for the way. And thus was it done for them. And they loaded their grain upon their donkeys and departed from there. And one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, and he saw his silver, there it was in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, "My silver has been returned, and here it is in my sack." And their hearts stopped, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" And they came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan and told him all that had happened to them, saying, "The man, the lord of the land, spoke harshly to us and took us for spies on the land. But we said to him, We are honest men, we have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father, the one is no more, and the youngest is with our father today in the land of Canaan. And the man, the lord of the land, said to us, "By this will I know that you are honest men, leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your households, and go. And bring your youngest brother to me that I may know that you are not spies but are honest men. I will give you your brother, and you may trade in the land." And when they emptied their sacks, there was each man's bundle of silver pieces in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of silver, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, "You have bereaved me of my children, Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and you would take Benjamin, all these things are against me." And Reuben spoke to his father, saying, "You may put to death my 2 sons if I do not bring him to you. Put him in my hand, and I will return him to you." But he said, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. And if harm should befall him on the way in which you go, then you will bring down my gray hairs in sorrow to Sheol." Genesis chapter 43. Now the famine was severe in the land. And when they had completely consumed the grain which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back, buy us a little food." But Judah spoke to him, saying, "The man solemnly warned us, saying, You shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you are willing to send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you grain for food. But if you are not willing to send him, we will not go down, for the man said to us, You shall not see my face unless your brother is with you." And Israel said, "Why did you treat me so badly as to tell the man that you had another brother?" And they said, "The man asked very carefully about us and about our relatives, saying, Is your father still alive? Do you have another brother?" So we told him about these things. Could we possibly know that he would say, "Bring your brother down"? And Judah said to Israel his father, "Send the boy with me, and we will rise up and go, that we may live and not die, we and you and our little ones. I myself will be surety for him, of my hand you may require him. If I do not bring him to you and set him before you, then I shall bear the blame of sinning before you forever. For if we had not delayed, by now we could have returned twice." And their father Israel said to them, "If it must be so, then do this, take some of the choice fruits of the land in your bags, and carry a present down to the man, a little balm and a little honey, aromatic gum and myrrh, pistachio nuts and almonds. And take double the silver in your hand, and carry back in your hand the silver that was returned in the mouth of your sacks, perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also, and rise up. Return to the man. And may the all-sufficient God grant you mercy before the man, that he may release to you your other brother and Benjamin. And as for me, if I am to be bereaved of my children, I shall be bereaved." So the men took this present, and they took double the silver in their hand and Benjamin, and they rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to him who was over his house, "Bring the men into the house, and slaughter an animal, and prepare it, for the men will eat with me at noon." And the man did as Joseph said, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, "It is because of the silver that was returned in our sacks the first time, that we are being brought in, that he may come out against us and fall upon us and take us as slaves with our donkeys." And they came near to the man who was over Joseph's house and spoke to him at the door of the house. And said, "Please, my lord, we indeed came down the first time to buy grain for food. And when we came to the lodging place, we opened our sacks, and there was each man's silver, in the mouth of his sack, our silver in full weight. So we have brought it back in our hand. And we have also brought down extra silver in our hand to buy grain for food." We do not know who put our silver in our sacks. And he said, Be at peace, do not fear. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks, your silver came to me. Then he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys fodder. And they prepared the present for Joseph's coming at noon, for they had heard that they would eat a meal there. And when Joseph came into the house, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house and bowed down to the ground to him. And he asked them about their welfare and said, Is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? And they said, Your servant our father is well, he is still alive. And they bowed and paid him homage. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your youngest brother, of whom you spoke to me? And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. And Joseph hurried, for his inward parts burned for his brother, and sought a place to weep. So he entered into his chamber and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out, and he controlled himself and said, Serve the meal. And they served him by himself, and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat a meal with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright and the youngest according to his youth, and the men looked at one another in astonishment. And he had portions brought to them from before him, however Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him,